good sleight of hand. Leonard running the court with the bend. Straight on with the hoop.
He has scored 13 points here in the third quarter. Randall stays with Leonard.
Don't let him come right.
In their game against the Knicks, Kawhi dropped 35 points, 5 rebounds, along with 3 assists and 4 steals. And with that dominating stat line, we can now officially say that Kawhi Leonard is back to his old all-star form. After sitting out the entire season last year due to an ACL injury, Kawhi has been playing great basketball for the Clippers as they're gearing toward the playoffs. The Los Angeles Clippers are creeping closer to the top of the rankings as the playoff race gets tighter in the West, and though their playoff seeding isn't yet secured, it sure does help that they got someone like a 2-time Finals MVP who's just peaking at the right time. In case you're just tuning in, Kawhi has been producing MVP caliber numbers for the Clips recently, and in their last 10 outings, he was averaging 29.2 points, 6.3 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 2 steals per ball game, while shooting efficiently from the field with 52.2%, 43.6% from 3, and 91.5% from the foul line. With Kawhi back in the lineup, he helped the Clippers to have their longest winning streak of the season with 5 games. And during the stretch of those 5 games, Kawhi was just simply spectacular on both ends of the floor. I mean, Kawhi averaged 30 points a ball game while grabbing 6.6 boards, dishing out 4.8 assists, and also tallying 1.4 steals to round up his impressive stat line. He also shot 63.8% from the field and 47.6% from 3 to showcase his efficiency on offense. Now, speaking of which, Kawhi has been destroying the opposition on offense through his mid-range game, just like in the good old days. And the reason why he's so good at it is that he knows how to get to his sweet spots. Here, Kawhi quickly attacks Collins, coming off a screen. After convincing him that he was about to drive, Kawhi pulled the brakes instead, then created some space so that he can pull this baseline jumper. What I love about his mid-range game is that it's very methodical, and he doesn't waste any movements as if everything is meticulously calculated. In this pinch post action, you can see that Kawhi quickly attacked Avdija before he even got his feet set. Then after taking 2 dribbles, he goes up for his signature fadeaway, and his defender was just too late to contest at this point. Another thing that enhances his mid-range game is his footwork. Kawhi attacks KJ Martin here on the block. After backing him down a couple of times, Kawhi uses his footwork to do a little shimmy before pulling a Kobe-esque fadeaway right on top of 2 defenders. In the last 10 games, statistics show that Kawhi is quite efficient when taking a shot coming from 3 to 6 dribbles. I mean, these were like the shots that you saw in the previous clips. He's actually hitting 65.6% from 2-point range and 44.4% from 3, while having an effective field goal percentage of 65.7%. And when it comes to overall mid-range efficiency, Kawhi currently ranks 3rd behind DeMar DeRozan and Brandon Ingram, with 3.4 field goals made. And even if he has made fewer shots over them, he's actually more efficient by hitting 51.9% of his total shots. Now, the next dimension of his mid-range game that I want to talk about is his pull-up jumper. Ever since he entered the league, this has been his bread and butter among all the moves that he has in his bag. And even though there's nothing fancy about it, it sure as hell is effective when Kawhi uses it. Here against the Lakers, Kawhi made the Lakers pay with a dribble pull-up after a brush screen from Zubac. And once again, if you decide to go under, Kawhi will make you pay time and time again with this simple move. Though it isn't as eye-popping compared to other moves, players like Kyrie and Luka are into pull-ups too, and in this particular category, Kawhi actually ranks 2nd in pull-up jumpers made with 5 a ball game, and he's also quite efficient by hitting half of his total shots over the last 10 games. With his mid-range game seeming to be pretty locked in, teams began to trap him on ball screens to force him to turn the ball over or give up the ball to someone else instead. While that seems to be a good strategy, Kawhi has already prepared for scenarios like this, and in the next clips, I'll show how he impacts the game by simply being a distributor. See, the Hawks quickly shut down Kawhi here as he attempts a pick-and-roll action with Zubac. Noticing that he got 2 black shirts on him, Kawhi quickly throws the ball to Zubac, who's sliding inside, which then resulted in an uncontested bucket in the paint. Here, the Clippers run the same action between Kawhi and Zubac. The Nuggets left Kawhi wide open coming off the screen, but instead of taking the shot, he remained patient and baited 2 defenders, before kicking it out to Reggie Jackson to the corner for a wide open 3. Now, since teams are pretty much aware of how lethal his mid-range game is, most of them are already up in Kawhi's face to prevent him from going to his sweet spot. But even if they take away his mid-range game, Kawhi can still put up buckets on his own terms. Here's what I mean. His defender here has successfully forced him to go right, as he was anticipating a fadeaway. Kawhi then switched gears and just bully-balled his way going to the cup. In this play, Kawhi was sizing up Hardaway Jr. Noticing that he was defending too close to him, Kawhi just blew by him, using his quick first step to finish this one easily. Off the curl, the Bulls were expecting Kawhi to slow it down while he picked his spot. But instead, Kawhi just bolted out of nowhere as the entire Bulls defense was caught napping. Now, in this last sequence, his defender was anticipating a pull-up jumper as Kawhi came off a curl. After hesitating, his defender momentarily got off balance, and that's all he needed to find an opening to squeeze in this tough bucket. Since most teams are having problems containing him in the last couple of games, there were times when they would just send 2 guys to double-team him far from the basket. But despite the pressure, Kawhi simply knows how to get around them. Look here in this play. The Spurs double-teamed Kawhi to force him to commit an error. However, Kawhi is just too smart for this scheme, and he just takes it to the rack without any resistance coming from the defense. And in this last clip, Kawhi just casually drilled this 3-pointer on top of the heavy pressure applied by Luka and Tim Hardaway Jr. in contesting his shot. Kawhi is currently out of the top 10 of MVP voting because he missed a ton of games this season. But with the way he's playing right now, there's no surprise that his name will pop up there soon, as long as he remains consistent while the Clippers continue to pile up some wins. With the playoffs fast approaching, the Clippers once again have become a legit contender in the wide-open race in the West, thanks to Kawhi, and if I were a playoff team, I would try to avoid the Clippers in the first round, because this team is going to be a handful in a 7-game series, especially with the old Kawhi back on it.